Thanks to Baron of Dice, Grey Matter Gaming, and Monument Hobbies for sponsoring this video. Orks came out the gates white hot with the release of their 10th edition codex, but cooled off tremendously following some nerfs at the start of Pariah Nexus. They've been slowly working their way back up the competitive ranks since then. The Taktikal Brigade Detachment aims to further push them along, giving us a Blood Axe themed army that adds a regimented way to play the faction. Now Orks can't read, but I'm pretty sure you can, so head on over to goonhammer.com to read more. Link in the description. Detachment rule. Listen here. Once per battle round in your command phase, or after being set up on the battlefield in your movement phase, each boss, Snickrot, mech, and war boss model in your army can issue tactics abilities. To do so, select one or two of the tactics abilities below and select one friendly Orks unit within 6 inches of that model to issue them to. If you select 2 tactics, the model must take a leadership test. If failed, the selected unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. Until the start of your next command phase, the selected unit is affected by the selected tactics. A unit cannot have tactics issued to it in this way more than once per battle round. Get stuck in. You can reroll charge rolls. Get on with it. Add 1 to the strength characteristic of melee weapons. Sneaky stalkin'. Infantry and mounted models, excluding Meganobs, in this unit have the stealth ability, and each time a ranged attack targets this unit, those models have the benefit of cover against the attack. Shoota drills. Each time an infantry or mounted model in this unit makes a ranged attack, add 1 to the hit roll. Tactics abilities cannot be issued to battle-shocked units, and if a unit affected by tactics becomes battle-shocked, all tactics cease to affect that unit while it's battle-shocked. Also, Storm Boy's units in your army gain the battle line keyword. If this looks familiar, it's because it's basically Astra Militarum orders, but for Orks. Orders are already one of the strongest rules in the game, and giving Orks their own version of the rule, along with the ability to double up on those orders at the cost of some slight risk, feels like it's all upside. You can buff shooting units at will, make your charges more reliable, add survivability, and get +1 to strength to hit key breakpoints both in and outside of your wall. In short, these are great, and Storm Boys being battle line is just icing on the cake. It won't improve their OC, but it does make them very useful in those Pariah Nexus missions where being battle line matters, such as when you're playing with raised banners or rapid escalation. Now all of the enhancements are at least decent enough to take, and at least 2 of them are gonna be must-haves. Squad Leader lets a war boss attach to a commandos unit. As written, you can use this ability to attach a Def Kill a War Trike or Beast Boss on Squigosaur to a unit with this ability, but we expect that to get errated at some point. Mech Captain lets a big mech be attached to a unit of flash gits and gives them full rerolls to hit on top of that. This is super powerful and makes flash gits, which are already being seen in several high-performing lists, even more of a potent shooting threat. Mork's Cunnin is a typical redeploy ability, though it does allow you to block other infiltrators units with commandos and then redeploy back towards your own lines. Gob Boomer is the Ork version of a Voxcaster, extending the range of tactics to 18 inches. We're not sure how you'd build around this, as Orks aren't likely to sit at home issuing orders to tanks the same way Leontis does, but it's useful nonetheless. In other words, okay Gob Boomer. The Taktikal Brigade gives you 6 stratagems that seem to be primarily written with Storm Boys in mind, but will work just fine on other units. Dat's Ours increases the objective control of a unit locked in combat by 1 for a round. This is a nifty way to flip an objective when you have models on it, but they're going up against something with a higher OC. Great for your Storm Boys and attacking home objectives protected by weak OC2 battle line units. This combines really well with the +1 OC tactic, and OC3 Meganobs will absolutely catch people off guard. Fight Propa gives an infantry or mounted unit either sustained hits 1 or lethal hits in the fight phase. This is a rock solid increase on your damage output, and is good for helping units that may be low on their attacks count get over the hump against tougher units. Tactical Retreat lets a unit fall back, shoot, and charge. This is always good to have and useful for disengaging from screens or tar pit combats and reaching the targets you want to be stuck in with. Crunch and Descent acts as an infantry version of Tank Shock. It's okay and has some situational uses, such as when you charge a vehicle or elite infantry unit and need to push some damage through. On to Denext gives you a 6-inch reactive move after an enemy unit falls back from you. Reactive moves are universally good, though this one's trigger is probably the most restrictive. It combines nicely with the other strats here, and the army encourages always tagging your opponent. Dead Sneaky gives your Orks a proper uppy downy of their own. This stratagem is always useful, particularly when you combine it with deep striking units. If you're looking to get the most bang for your buck in this detachment, you build around the models giving tactics, which, fortunately, most Ork lists already do. War bosses have been a staple for a while, and mechs get a lot of value of being able to repair a truck, give it +1 to hit, and deliver a tactic. Having a strength boost available to your army at all times is a bit like having a partial WA, and having +2 during the WA is great as it'll usually mean hitting a breakpoint for getting +1 to wound against most targets. That said, we don't expect this detachment to play too differently from a Warhorde list, bringing a mixed pile of boys or knobs and flash gits and trucks that move up the board and set up for a devastating WA turn. This detachment adds more cannon options and is a bit more robust in the shooting department, and really wants you to take a unit of 10 flash gits with an attached big mech with shock attack gun. The stratagems in this detachment are pretty strong, but everything here is a bit more restrictive than you'd expect. The star here is the Dead Sneaky stratagem, which gives your army the ability to put Storm Boys back into reserves. It really helps transform your Storm Boys into a fantastic scoring unit. Now let's look at the strengths and weaknesses. Tactics are really strong, and Orc leaders can issue 2 to a unit with minimal risk of damage. Some solid enhancements open up your army and let your leaders attach to more units. Battle Line Storm Boys, especially with stratagem support, give you a lot of mobility. Unfortunately, those Storm Boys don't have any leader options, so they can't issue tactics to themselves when arriving from Deep Strike. The stratagems are good, but they can be a little restrictive. There's also not much here for vehicle units. Now please forgive me for not doing this whole video in an Orc voice. If you're interested in improving your Krumpen game, you can head on over to goonhammer.com where you can read us talk about how much we like this detachment. You can also support us on Patreon so we can afford the precious teeth we need to keep things running. Those teeth exchange rates these days are brutal. We'd also like to thank our sponsors, Baron of Dice, Monument Hobbies, and Grey Matter Gaming for sponsoring this video. I've been Gork McMork, inviting you to bark orders at a bunch of mushrooms. Thanks for watching.